forced a little bit to change the way I'm presenting traditionally. And I decided to make the presentation about what we're actually doing, what is our major interest. I changed it to a more general one, and really to the high perspective of what needs to be done while we are in this transition when the so-called Web3 or the blockchain is taking over more and more of our lives in many ways, and it's revolutionizing the ways finance are working, and it's revolutionizing the ways, just banks, insurances. But the next big step, and it's unavoidable, it will revolutionize the way governments are working. And I think that's actually the biggest and the best use case for the blockchain implementation. We launched Liberland 7 years ago in order actually to work on this. And Liberland is supposed to be the first decentralized government running on blockchain technology. We're very close of launching it. But in general, I really believe it's not just Liberland. It will be actually many more movements. The new states will emerge very soon. I don't know if you heard recently about the book Network State, which discusses that in great detail. And the big question is really how to make sure we utilize this technology in a way it benefits humanity in the best possible way, that it maximizes the human freedom and it maximizes the prosperity of our society. So we don't use it to build another dictatorship, to build another fascist or communist society that would bring about destruction, but we actually build something which will elevate civilization to the next level. And I decided to actually divide it into 7 parts where I believe this blockchain technology can significantly improve the way the states are running today. And I wanted to show you on these 7 examples, which I believe will be very beneficial for this next generation of governments that are emerging. So what blockchain does, it brings, first of all, radical transparency to all operations by government. And that transparency, I think, is very much needed. Like, just think about it, that many governments until today actually don't run any sort of open accounting. If you want to find out what are they spending the money on, you have to wait another year, and you have to actually dig into the papers, and you don't get the information usually in another year because the freedom of information is not really working that well in many countries. But what blockchain does, it actually puts all the information directly, and you can directly see what this money went for. And there is another very important element to it. It's the elections. The elections will be directly running on this platform, so there is very little possibility for election frauds. I think those are 2 big upgrades that blockchain is bringing about into the organization of nation state. And the other one is, and I believe, and it's maybe one of the most controversial out of the 7, is the fixing the way democracy works. I truly believe there is something wrong with the system where, in this election cycle that everybody kind of gets one person, one vote for a certain type of decision. Doesn't matter how much money he actually contributed to the state or how big he is a criminal in that society. He has one person, one vote. There is certain merit to that, and we have that element as well. But I truly believe it would be great if actually people who have contributed more to some society had bigger say. It would dramatically improve the way societies are organizing themselves. So we need to bring back that corporate element to running of the countries, and blockchain is a great opportunity to do so. And not just that, I truly believe that blockchain allows us this opportunity to come up with a voluntary tax system, a system in which whenever you pay taxes, you actually get something in return, which is also a bit strange. Like you pay you're an American billionaire and you pay $1 billion in taxes, and the tax office doesn't even say thank you. you're not getting anything back while you're supporting your country. So your incentive is to avoid paying taxes as much as possible. And if you want to influence some decisions in the country, you're not going to pay more taxes. You're going to bribe politicians because that makes much more sense, right? It gives you direct results. But what I believe is it is important to put these incentives in alignment. You want to have more political power in some organization, so you better contribute more to its functioning. And again, that's one thing which is not working right now in any country in the world, but I believe that will be the next evolution step where blockchain can play a drastic role in putting this forward. Another great thing is that we can implement some elements of direct democracy. So there is this possibility to basically vote continuously. You don't have to vote every 4 years. You could literally decide that with your tokens, you're going to support some politicians. But not just that. You could also decide that you can use your tokens directly. You don't need to use your politicians, your favorite politicians as intermediary if on this particular topic you disagree with some of your politicians. So what we're doing, we're actually removing these 4-year election or economic cycles. You know how it works. When you come into power, you're usually saving money, but at the end of your election cycle, you try to spend as much as you can in order to boost the economy and win more votes. And it actually creates these boom and bust cycles in the economy. But by removing that, by making the elections continuous in such a society, you're able to remove this and kind of smooth the way that state is spending money and that the economy is developing. Another important thing which, here in Balkans, I think it would bring about great improvement is that the registers can be all on this blockchain governance system. And it would mean that you would be able to transfer your property, be it your car, be it your land, literally in a couple of seconds, instead of relying on some notary, having to go through some sort of land register, etc. You can do all these transactions directly on blockchain. And I have this experience, like we're also purchasing some property, and it now takes actually more than a year to get this transaction through. In a blockchain run country, it would literally take a couple of seconds. And you can imagine that once you increase the speed of transactions, you also get much higher prosperity in a society. Another great thing which I believe blockchain-based governments or decentralized governments can bring about is hyper-efficient court system where now there is a lot of competition already being built. There are systems like Kleros, for example, that are implementing some of these ideas. They're using smart arbitration mechanisms to put dispute resolution mechanisms on blockchain. While if you are able to basically turn the traditional systems of courts into very competitive system of courts running on blockchain, you will also end up with much better and much faster dispute resolution, which will result in much better economic output. And the last point, but I think it's actually the most important, building of these new decentralized governments can be a great opportunity to separate the state and economy. Something as important as was the separation of church and the state, we have a great opportunity to separate the state and economy. Many people believe that the state has a major role to play in economy. But from historical experience, we know very well that states usually are doing much more harm than good when they start to intervene in the economy itself. We know very well that countries that have very little regulations and very little taxations are the most prosperous countries in the world. If you look into places like Singapore, like Hong Kong, their ways of lowering taxes and lowering regulations to the limit, to the minimums, actually boosted the economy so much that from a fisherman's village, you have economic powerhouse in just a couple of decades. And we believe that blockchain has actually a great opportunity, or new generation of these blockchain-based countries have this opportunity to take this to the limit and completely separate, or almost completely separate, the state and economy. So just to conclude, I believe that when these 7 principles are built into the hearts of these new entities that are being created as we speak, they could bring as much as 20% economic growth per year. That's my humble estimate, 10 to 20%. And it is, as you know, probably number of times higher than the traditional growth. European Union is growing at 2% rate. Croatia and Serbia, for example, 2% rate. And what that results into in let's say, 20 to 30 years horizon is amazing prosperity. So if you, for example, have a small country that starts almost from zero and grows for 40 years at 20% rate, it will outcompete its neighbors in a very short period. It will simply be a huge magnet for capital and for the most skilled people on the planet. So I'm concluding that the blockchain-based countries or decentralized governments are the future of governance on this planet. And I very much welcome you to take part in that new movement and help us explore this new, and I would say the greatest use case for the blockchain technology and Web3. Thank you very much. All right. I think if there are no questions, I appreciate your attention. And again, it was my first presentation from completely different level of looking into what we are doing and how that could be actually multiplied, not just looking at our own case, and I invite you to read the book Network State that just came out by Bajali, who has been arguing for basically building a similar system like CoinMarketCap for states like Liberland, and in order to have this kind of competition. And I would like Liberland to, of course, be on the top of the chart with these principles. So yeah, we're here. We will be running around. We have a couple robots by Liberland startups that will be running around the event. So thank you again.